Why do women remember tiny details about a conversation you had 3 years ago, but forget where they put their phone 5 minutes ago? Why do tears suddenly appear during arguments? And why can silence feel louder than shouting? And most of all, what's actually happening inside the female brain that makes emotion, intuition, and logic perform an intricate dance that men often can't decode? Let's break open the vault of female psychology. And what's inside might just rewrite everything you thought you knew about how women think, feel, and connect. The first secret. The female brain isn't just a smaller male brain. It's structurally and chemically different. Women have a larger hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and emotion. That's why she remembers what you wore, how you smelled, and the exact tone you used when you said, "I'm fine." This heightened emotional memory evolved as a survival tool. Thousands of years ago, remembering subtle cues, like who was trustworthy or dangerous, literally meant the difference between life and death. But that's just the surface. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, the invisible superpower. Studies from Yale and Harvard show that women outperform men in reading facial expressions, tone of voice, and micro-expressions, the blink and you miss it muscle twitches that reveal hidden emotion. This isn't manipulation, it's pattern detection on a biological level. Her brain is wired to pick up emotional data the way radar picks up blips on a screen. So when she says, "Something feels off," and you insist everything's fine, there's a 90% chance her intuition is detecting something your words aren't saying. That brings us to the second secret. Intuition is not magic. It's data processing at light speed. The female brain has stronger connections between the left and right hemispheres, allowing emotion and logic to talk to each other like best friends sharing secrets. While a man's brain often compartmentalizes, logic in one box, emotion in another, a woman's brain blends them. So her gut feeling isn't irrational. It's a neurochemical shortcut combining subtle sensory cues, memory, and empathy into a rapid conclusion. You might call it instinct. Science calls it rapid cognitive integration. Now here's the paradox. The same emotional depth that gives women empathy also gives them mental overload. The amygdala, responsible for processing emotion, is more active in women, meaning they can experience stronger emotional highs and lows. But they also have a larger anterior cingulate cortex, the area that regulates empathy and impulse control. In short, she can feel 10 things at once and still decide whether it's worth texting back. Third secret. Communication is her weapon and her shield. Women's brains have more connections in the corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres, allowing them to switch between emotional and rational communication seamlessly. That's why she can argue passionately, cry halfway through, and still remember every logical point she made. It's not confusion, it's layered expression. Men often think women talk too much. But neuroscientists discovered that women produce 3 times more oxytocin during conversation. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. Talking literally creates biochemical comfort. So when she says, "We need to talk," what she's really saying is, "I need connection to calm my nervous system." Silence, on the other hand, can feel like rejection, because her brain interprets emotional distance as a potential threat. Fourth secret. Women evolved as emotional strategists. In hunter-gatherer societies, men needed focus to hunt. Women needed awareness to nurture and protect. That required reading group dynamics, subtle conflicts, and emotional shifts. So, Evolution rewarded women who could anticipate behavior, interpret signals, and respond strategically. Modern translation. She can sense a friend's hidden tension across the room or detect dishonesty in a single text message. But this emotional radar comes with a cost: overthinking. The prefrontal cortex in women remains active even during rest. That means the female brain rarely shuts up. While men might drift into thoughtless calm, women often replay scenarios, analyze tone, and construct emotional what-ifs. This isn't weakness, it's hyper-awareness. In psychology, this phenomenon is called rumination, and it's linked to higher empathy, but also higher anxiety. The fifth secret, attention to detail, is emotional defense. When women focus on tiny things, like a slight change in your routine or the delay in your reply, it's not obsession, it's pattern recognition. Her brain evolved to notice inconsistencies because inconsistency once meant danger. If something's different, the subconscious alarm bells start ringing. That's why she can detect insincerity faster than a lie detector. Sixth secret. Female emotions are biologically synchronized with cycles. Hormones like estrogen and progesterone don't just affect reproduction, they alter cognition, confidence, and social behavior. During the follicular phase, rising estrogen enhances memory, energy, and mood. During the luteal phase, progesterone can make emotions more intense and sensitivity heightened. So yes, her reactions change throughout the month, but they're driven by measurable neurochemistry, not moodiness. And here's a revelation. A woman's brain actually shrinks slightly during pregnancy, but only to rewire itself for empathy and protection. MRI scans show enhanced connectivity in emotional and social regions, nature's way of turning care into instinct. Seventh secret. Women's pain perception isn't weaker, it's deeper. Research shows that women report pain more often but tolerate it longer. Their nervous systems have denser sensory networks, which amplify sensations. However, their brains release endorphins and oxytocin more efficiently in response to emotional support. In other words, compassion literally dulls their pain. That's why being listened to feels healing. It's not metaphorical, it's biochemical. Now let's talk about stress. Under stress, men's brains release adrenaline and cortisol, pushing them toward fight or flight. Women release oxytocin alongside cortisol, steering them toward tend and befriend. That's why women under pressure often reach out, communicate, or seek group reassurance. It's not weakness, it's evolutionary strategy. Connection became survival. Eighth secret. Memory is emotional architecture. Women don't just remember facts, they remember feelings tied to them. So if you insulted her 3 months ago and she brings it up now, it's because the memory's stored with emotional intensity. The amygdala locks emotion into the memory, making it nearly impossible to forget unless it's processed emotionally, not logically. That's why "I already said sorry" doesn't always work. The emotional data remains unresolved. Ninth secret. Female attraction is neurological mathematics. Even though this isn't about romance, the psychology is fascinating. Women's brains evaluate potential partners not just visually, but emotionally, scanning for reliability, confidence, and empathy. The ventral tegmental area, which processes reward, activates more for emotional intelligence than appearance. So attraction isn't purely aesthetic, it's neurochemical trust simulation. Her brain asks subconsciously, can this person increase or reduce my long-term emotional risk? 10th secret. The social brain is her survival toolkit. From early childhood, girls form more cooperative play networks. Their reward centers light up during social bonding more than competition. This doesn't mean women can't compete. It means their brains associate status with connection, not dominance. That's why social rejection hits harder. It's processed in the same region as physical pain. Being ignored literally hurts. Let's go deeper into empathy's dark twin, emotional contagion. Because women's mirror neurons are more active, they can absorb others' moods unconsciously. If someone nearby is stressed, her body may mimic their cortisol levels. That's why emotional boundaries are crucial for women's mental health. Without them, empathy becomes emotional exhaustion. The 11th secret. Female psychology thrives on context. Women interpret meaning based on environment, tone, and emotion simultaneously. Say the phrase, "I'm fine," with 3 different tones, and her brain instantly categorizes it into emotional layers. This contextual intelligence allows her to navigate social nuance masterfully, but it also means she's hypersensitive to mixed signals. 12th secret. Silence is never neutral. For women, lack of communication triggers the brain's alarm system because it represents uncertainty, a psychological void that must be filled. That's why she'll mentally replay conversations, searching for closure that her brain is hardwired to seek. 13th secret. The female brain doesn't separate emotion from memory. It integrates them. MRI studies show that women use both hemispheres when recalling experiences, while men rely primarily on the left hemisphere. So her recollection isn't just what happened, it's how it felt. And because emotion amplifies neural storage, those memories feel alive even years later. 14th secret. Women's minds are wired for adaptability. The female brain experiences higher rates of neuroplasticity, meaning it rewires faster after trauma or change. This flexibility fuels resilience. Even when emotionally broken, her brain quietly rebuilds neural pathways for survival. She doesn't move on easily because she doesn't forget, but she adapts, integrates, transforms. 15th secret. Her dreams are cognitive blueprints. Women's dreams often contain more emotional and relational content. Psychologists believe this is the brain's way of simulating potential social scenarios, training for empathy and anticipation. Dreaming isn't fantasy, it's rehearsal. And here's something almost supernatural. During ovulation, women's brain activity subtly shifts toward creativity and confidence, driven by dopamine surges. She becomes more expressive, alert, and socially magnetic, not by choice, but by ancient biological programming designed for optimal social influence. 16th secret. Emotional suppression is psychological poison. When women are taught to stay quiet or be nice, their amygdala activity spikes and cortisol lingers longer in the bloodstream. That's why suppressed emotion leads to anxiety, insomnia, or unexplained fatigue. Expression isn't drama, it's detox. 17th secret. Trust rewires her brain. Oxytocin released through trust building literally changes neural pathways in the amygdala, reducing fear and increasing empathy. That's why betrayal cuts deeper. It doesn't just hurt feelings, it rewrites chemistry. 18th secret. The female mind is paradoxically both analytical and emotional. Neuroscience proves that during decision-making, women's brains activate broader networks across the cortex. They gather more information before concluding, hence the stereotype of indecisiveness. In reality, it's cognitive depth, not confusion. 19th secret. Women use conversation as cognition. Talking things out helps them process and organize thoughts because language regions are more connected to emotion centers. That's why verbalizing a problem feels like solving it. It's the brain literally building order from chaos. And the 20th, perhaps deepest secret: every woman carries an invisible emotional map, etched by evolution, refined by experience, and powered by empathy. Her emotions are not weakness, but signal systems, guiding intuition, shaping decisions, and protecting connection. She doesn't think too much. She feels deeply, interprets intricately, and remembers accurately. The female psyche isn't a mystery to be solved. It's an ecosystem to be understood. Because beneath every emotion lies data, and beneath that data lies the oldest survival code humanity has ever known: connection.